What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Career Mode. This is episode number 44. We started today's stuff on the back of our win over the Baggies with a loan offer for one of our youth graduates, Plymouth Argyle, putting in a loan bid here. Just real briefly on loans, I really hope EA revamp the loan system as the years go by, because it's just a little bit... I'm not sure what the word is to describe it really. Perhaps unrealistic is perhaps the best way of putting it. But you often get like lower league sides and championship sides very rarely interested in your players, if you're managing a Premier League side, I should say, where, you know, the likelihood is, more often than not, those are the places where those players would go. For example, for this deal here, Warner, our young midfielder, is off to Home Park to play for Plymouth for a year. But you'll also notice as well, when you negotiate a wage split, it's always, and I mean literally always, an initial 40-60 wage split. So the loanee club will pay 40% and the parent club pays 60%. It's just like, you know, it happens every single time. And I guess it does kind of break the immersion and the realism up a little bit as well. I'd like to see EA revamp the loan system, because it does feel as though, again, it's quite unrealistic and it's a bit too repetitive as well. And the clubs that are offering for your players oftentimes are very unrealistic suitors as well. Anyway, for the first game of today's episode, on the back of the win over the Baggies, taking on Fulham at Craven Cottage. 6 games without a loss in the Premier League, and when your luck is in, it is in. Starting the game off, 13 minutes in, we took an early lead. James Ward-Prowse's second of the season, but big helping hand for the goal. I wondered how it went in initially, because it wasn't the best of attempts from range, but it took a big deflection off Alfie Mawson and found the back of the net. So very lucky goal there, but we will take it. And then 29 minutes in, Lookman trying to get a goal. Back at Craven Cottage, spent a year on loan with Fulham in their Premier League season a couple of years ago. As you'll see, that shot going way off target. So still leading by a goal. Again, great little unbeaten run for Southampton recently, which has put us in the top 4. And 53 minutes into the game, well, I mentioned it, if we are going to be a Champions League standard team, these are the games we can't afford slip-ups in. And 54 minutes into the game, we conceded the leveller as Fulham got back on level terms. And, you know, obviously to start the season off, we've had a couple of scouts, obviously both in North London, Arsenal and also Spurs as well. But I really do feel as though, because of how tight the season has started off in terms of the congestion in the league table right now, if we are to be a Champions League calibre side, these are games where we have to win. Even a draw is seen as a really bad result. And I think that's the sign in an RTG of when you know you're becoming a bigger club. Because in Season 1, you know, a draw away from home against a mid-table or bottom half of the table side isn't a disastrous result. It's not a great result, but it's not a disastrous result. But now, any kind of slip-up whatsoever is a big, big blow. Because if you want to get into the top 4, you got to win these sort of games. Instead, fell behind late on through Justin Cliver, who scored the winner for Marco Silva's Fulham as they got the victory at Craven Cottage. 2-1 the final score. Our unbeaten run ended in West London. Fulham with the victory. Just real briefly on Justin Cliver, where do you think this guy is going to end up as the years go by? Because it's crazy when you think about it. You know, obviously in his very early days at Ajax, of course, the son of a legend. You know, there was so much optimism about how good this guy was going to be in world football. You know, he then moved on to Roma, of course, and you know, it still seemed as though he was going to really, really thrive in the Serie A, at the Stadio Olimpico, and become a world beater as the years would go by. Since then, though, in the past couple of years in particular, his career's kind of stalled a little bit. You know, the loan spell at RB Leipzig last year, now he's at Nice in Ligue 1. He's got a couple of caps for the Netherlands, but, you know, he's 22 years old and he's turning 23, I think, next month as well. You know, that's still very young, obviously, as a 29-year-old. Believe me, I'd love to be 22 again. But, you know, you just start to wonder with Cliver, you know, is it a case of him being burnt out, if you will, playing all those minutes so early on, you know, with Ajax and then, of course, going to Roma as well? Is he going to hit that potential? You know, many years ago in FIFA, he was one of the go-to buys as a winger in FIFA career mode. What do you guys think is going to happen to Justin Kluivert? Will he fade away into obscurity as the years go by? Or perhaps another loan spell, perhaps a fresh move elsewhere might kickstart his career once again for both club and country. Let me know what you guys think about Justin Kluivert. It's a shame as well, because I would have loved to have seen him really thrive, you know, as in his early days. And again, it is worth pointing out, he's only 22. But I guess nowadays, you know, because of how young players are and how young players can now be stars at such an early age too, you wonder whether Kluivert has sort of taken a little bit of a stumble, if you will, in terms of his development and his future potential. Anyway, for the second game of today's episode, Real Betis away in Spain, matchday 5 in the Europa League group stage. And after our win over Pulls on matchday 4, heading into this game, if we would avoid defeat, that would mean beat Shamrock Rovers on matchday 6, which, let's be honest, we should be able to do, and that will guarantee top spot in the group. In the end, we won the game by a goal to nil. Should have won it 2-0 as well. The final highlight, I had to show you this. It was so funny because Eze, brilliant charge down the right, storms down the flank, which one in, and Adam Armstrong volleys it somehow from 10 yards off target. And then you saw the animation, it was so funny, he started celebrating even though he'd missed an easy opportunity to get another goal. Even so, in the end, did not matter. He held on for the 3 points there. 1-0 the final score, and that does mean on the final group game, if we hold Shamrock Rovers and just get a draw, that will guarantee top spot in the group. And what I love about this group as well, first of all, it's panned out exactly how I thought it would. Us and Betis, the top two, Poulsen in third and Shamrock Rovers in fourth. But I love how we haven't conceded a goal yet. In the European campaign so far, our first ever, in a FIFA where my defense is so weak, it's embarrassing. I love the fact we haven't conceded a single goal in our group stage. It's been fantastic. Pickford with 5 straight clean sheets, going for that golden glove in the Europa League this season. I love that. But even so, for the third game of today's episode, back to St Mary's and back to matters in the Premier League here. What a start, 30 minutes in. Ritsu, who is 4th of the season, bending one in to give us the early lead, and a few minutes afterwards, once again, we come on the counter, getting the joy down the right-hand side. Ritsu stepping in from the flank once again. This guy, I tell you, man, there's something about inside forwards in FIFA that I just absolutely love, and I can't get enough of it. There's something about stepping in and also beating a last man as well. You'll notice for both goals here, saw the last man coming across and then stepped in, just like in the previous game as well. I feel as though, like, when a covering defender is coming across, the best thing to do is take your finger off the right trigger, slow the ball down, and then just time it instantly and perfectly. And I know it sounds like a very easy thing to do, easier said than done. But again, the best thing to do is just take your time once you see the covering defender come across. Take your finger off the right trigger. And again, with a ball roll, I always find the ball roll is the most effective skill move to use when a covering defender is coming across. So if you can ball roll around them, a Berber spin perhaps can be effective based on the angle. You'll find a little bit of a gap, and then you can bend it into the far corner as well. Exactly happened for the 2 goals here. Ritsu's getting his 3rd goal in 2 games. Then 19 minutes in, I should have bagged him a hat-trick as well. Rounded the goalkeeper to get a little bit too far wide and couldn't bend it into the far corner there for his hat-trick in this game. So still leading by 2, 6 minutes on the clock now in the game. We're totally dominated here against Sean Dyche's Burnley. 5 minutes to go. Looking for a 3rd goal to wrap the points up in style. Bale chips through, Adder, Mola, Lookman. And it's just one of those games where you see the importance of inside forwards. I feel like, you know, in the past decade, inside forwards have been a much more preferred role for wide players and players on the flank in top tier football. And obviously, you know, you see the success with many different teams and how the strikers nowadays can operate as a false 9, if you will. And in FIFA career mode, I like how it's also become the same sort of thing as well. Like, you know, back in the day, crosses were more effective than they are right now. Crosses, if you were back in the days like FIFA 13 or FIFA 14, how often, especially in Ultimate Team, would you just come up against an opponent who would storm down the flank with a 90 pace rated player and cross the ball into someone like Ibarbo Ronaldo, for example, who'd head in from range. Crosses nowadays are so ineffective, and so if you can cut inside and shoot, you've got a much higher chance of scoring than if you cross the ball. So inside forwards now are so crucial. That game there kind of showed it as well, with Ritsu bagging a brace and Lookman getting one as well. And so for our fourth and final game of today's episode here, buzzing for this one, Chelsea away, Stamford Bridge. And so far in London, we got a fantastic record this season. We just lost to Craven Cottage, yes, but now back in West London. We beat Arsenal, we beat Spurs, and 7 minutes into the game, Edouard Mendy, I love him. We all love Edouard Mendy. Every neutral loves Mendy, but that's an absolute gaff from the Chelsea shot stopper. Gifts Adam Armstrong our opening goal. His 3rd and 7 puts us in front, and then 43 minutes in. Oh, can we play here every week? I know we just lost at Craven Cottage, but we've had wins against Arsenal. We've had wins against Spurs. We beat Brentford as well not too long ago. I'm loving life in London, man. And Brecci Eze, club record signing, doubles our lead right before the break and at half-time at Stamford Bridge. I couldn't believe it. Chelsea 0, Southampton 2. And I say I couldn't believe it. I could actually. I could believe it because, again, this season, we finally picked up our first 2 scalps in the Premier League against Arsenal, against Spurs. Here against Chelsea, we beat them in the EFL Cup last season in the quarter-final on our way to reaching the finals. We've won here at Stamford Bridge before, albeit in the Cup. And in this game here, I was just on absolute flames. I'm not going to lie, just one of those games where I really felt in control despite being the underdog. This was just one of those games. My defense was rock solid. I was creating chance after chance. Was a couple of great ones in the second, including Minamino missing that one-on-one. Out of 8 minutes to go, stood up by 2. Brecci Eze running the show, rolls it across to Diao, and our anchorman gets his 1st of the season, and I believe 1st of the save as well, in a demolition job in West London. Chelsea 0, Southampton 3. And this was the game where I started to think, do you know what? The board were right at the start of the season. I apologise to the board as Pickford maintains his clean sheet. They were wrong. They were right. I was wrong. Southampton can be a Champions League side. We've beaten Arsenal away. We've beaten Spurs away. And now we've beaten Chelsea away 3-0. 3 scalps out of 3 this season. We hadn't had any in 12 in the past 2, but now 3 in a row, all coming in London. Can we play at the capital every week? 3-0 the final score for the Saints. Another big win. Back on track with 3 straight in a row in all competitions on the back of the defeat to Fulham. And the Saints now, 14 games in, are top of the table. On goal difference, only 1 point clear of Liverpool, only 2 clear of Leicester, only 3 clear of West Ham. Look, it's a very tight table. I'm not going to read too much into this, but 14 games into the season, just over a third of the way through, the Saints are leading the way. My goodness. But that will end today's episode of New Realistic Career Mode, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have a like, much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Realistic Career Mode very soon.